Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Closing. I am Carmen Donchez from First United, and I am joined here this morning by my good friend, Rebecca Martinez Newsom.
Correct.
She's a loan officer with Fulton Bank, and we're going to talk about a very, very important topic right now, especially with these times, first-time homebuyer programs. So, Rebecca, tell us a little bit about yourself first.
So my name is Rebecca Martinez Newsom. I work for Fulton Bank. Been in the business for 18 years now. Started when I was 10.
Of course.
Been with Fulton Bank for 6 years, and my primary focus is first-time homebuyers. Most of my customers, I'm going to say probably 80% are Hispanic, since I am a bilingual loan officer, Dominican. And so that is what I focus on, is just trying to help educate and to help teach people that they can become first-time homebuyers.
That's great. 80% is a pretty large number, especially since I believe the Latino community is really growing in the Lehigh Valley.
Absolutely.
In the last few years.
It is.
So tell us about some of the programs that Fulton Bank is partnered with and which ones you work with the most, or which ones are the more beneficial ones for the first-time home buyers that you cater to.
We deal with, I'm going to start off with PHFA, that's Pennsylvania Housing. We partner with them with some of their programs, which right now is a great program. They offer 5% of the purchase price. They'll give you in the form of a grant. You have to live in the house, though, for 10 years. The program is income specific and credit specific, which is something I go over. But the one thing they came out with probably, I'm going to say a few months ago, is another program, which is called K-Flex, and it's for people that aren't first-time home buyers. They still offer you that 5% down as in form of a grant. So say you're somebody who just sold a house but didn't make enough money and still need money, we can put you in that program. Again, income specific, but the income is right now like $180,000. So as long as you don't make more than $180,000, you can still get into that program. So that's a fantastic program. But probably one of the best programs out there right now is with the city of Bethlehem. So what that program is, they will give you 10% down.
Okay.
All your closing costs. And the only thing that you need to come out of pocket is $1,275.
Wow.
So you can buy a house, basically like you put 10% down. Now, we partner that program with our program, which is a conventional program that is exclusive to Fulton, and there's no PMI. So PMI, for people that don't know, is a private mortgage insurance that typically you will pay when you don't put the 20% down. So now you can get into this house, 10% down, no PMI, with only $1,275 out of pocket.
So for those who, are still questioning whether or not this is a good time to buy or not, a program like this can help, not only cover their closing costs, but it also helps. How does it help the rate, or are the rates any different? Are they just about the same? How do you guys keep some sort of control in terms of like what they're going to pay per month? Which, in a way, you already said, right? Because there's no private mortgage insurance to be paid.
The rate is just depending which program we put them in, because we can put them in any program that we see fit for them, and then we match it up with this grant. So, for example, like I said, the no PMI program, we will put them in. Even if the rate, there's a lot of people that are afraid right now because rates are going up, which obviously we know. But keep in mind, so is rental. Rental is going up just as quickly as the rates are. It is still cheaper to own your house than to rent. And it's your house. You have a whole house versus, 2 bedrooms. You have this entire house that is yours, and you're still paying less, even though the rate is higher. And again, buying a house for $1,275 out of pocket. I had a customer, I did a closing, and he got $26,000 to buy this house. So why wouldn't you do it?
$26,000 in grants?
In grant.
That's a lot of money.
So he doesn't have to pay it back. He doesn't have to make any monthly payment. He doesn't have to do anything.
And this is as long as you live in the house for a minimum of 10 years?
10 years, right. Most of them
pretty
have a
decent.
requirement of living in a house for 10 years. Most. Some only have 5 years. It just depends on the grant. So there's, Northampton County has their own grant. There's a first front door grant that will come back out in March. So it just depends which program, which grant we put you in, which is what I do as the loan officer. Depending where you're buying, depending on your income, depending on your credit, I'm going to put you in the best program that's out there.
Tell us a little bit about what the minimum credit score should be in order for them to qualify, because I know that that's one of the biggest things that
It is.
people struggle with is their credit.
Right.
So what is the minimum requirement for credit score?
So typically for all the programs, at least a 620.
Okay.
The only one that doesn't have that is PHFA. So if you want their grant, their K-FIT is called, you need at least a 660 credit score in order to be able to participate in their program. So we partner with them, so we have to follow their requirements.
Okay. And then is it K-Flex, you said? For if you're not a first-time home buyer, right? So what happens, since it is income driven? Let's say, someone is selling their home and now they have all this money coming in from, the purchase of their home. The amount of money that they actually have in their possession does not affect if they qualify for the program or not, right?
So with PHFA, they have a requirement where you cannot have more than $50,000 of liquid asset after that. Because the reality is, if you have all this money from selling a house, why do you need their money?
Right.
You really don't. So they they gear it for people that are struggling with saving money and need money to buy the house. Because their focus is, as is Fulton, is we're trying to get people to become homeowners.
That's right. So if you got $100,000 or $150,000 from the sale of your house,
right,
you can also apply for a program that's going to give even more money.
Exactly, because you wouldn't need it.
Right.
That's the reality.
It's still a great program.
It is a fantastic program out there, especially now that they changed it, that you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. Because even so, you might be someone that sold a house or went through a divorce a year or two ago. Mm-hmm. So technically you had a home, but you're broke. So now you can use this program.
That's right.
To buy a house.
So what is your advice to, the people who are afraid because the pricing of houses, is still pretty high?
It is.
And the rates are still relatively high in comparison to, what people had gotten used to in the last, 2-3 years, where you were looking, at times under 3%. What would you say to them to encourage them, besides the fact that once, you leave your rental, mm-hmm. you're not going to get a check from your landlord and say, here you go, buy yourself a house. How do you encourage people and reassure them that this is the right thing to do, to purchase a home during these times?
Well, like I was saying, when you go out there and you look at rent, how high it is. My brother just rented an apartment, 2 bedrooms, and he's paying over $1,500 a month when you can buy a house. You can have a house. So that's where I encourage them, because obviously when you're renting, you're under the scrutiny of the landlord if they want to kick you out, or if you're allowed to have your cousin, or like they say, the Spanish people, your compadre or whatever. Hispanics, we always have a lot of people that come visit us, and you don't want a landlord telling you, hey, your family can't come visit you. And the fact that there's so many programs out there to help you, and that's why I do a lot of the education, because as Hispanics, me being Hispanic, my parents never taught me about how to buy a house, or that I even could buy a house. They basically told me, no, you're going to have to rent. And unfortunately, that's what I see is, parents are renting, so the children rent, then their children is just a vicious cycle. So my goal is to educate the Hispanic community, to let them know, hey, you know what, you can become a homeowner, and you don't have to have $20,000 in the bank, and you don't have to have an 800 credit score.
That's wonderful. Now, tell me, how does a first-time home buyer or a realtor who is interested in one of these programs, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, they can contact me. My phone number is 610-554-3800. I think we'll put my email address. I work for Fulton Bank, so they just need to call me, and I can talk to them about all the different programs because everyone is different. So it's not a one for all. So whichever, depending on your particular situation, is where I'm going to put you into that program. And it helps realtors, when they're selling homes, like especially if they're selling a home in the city of Bethlehem, they can put this as something to attract more buyers, because this program is out there for them.
And the Bethlehem program is specific to that area.
To the city
of Bethlehem. So you have to be buying
correct
in the city of Bethlehem.
Correct.
Right?
But there's also the Northampton County grant. That's only $5,000, and I say only $5,000 because compared to them giving you 10% down, but it's still a program you can use that covers all of Northampton County.
Okay, that's wonderful. Well, Rebecca, thank you again for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Carmen.
It was a pleasure, and you look lovely in that color.
Why, thank you.
You're welcome. I guess the goal here is to make sure that everyone understands the importance of becoming a homeowner. Mm-hmm. So I know that a lot of this information is going to be very helpful to many.
Absolutely.
So thank you again.
Thank you.
Until next time, thank you for joining us in another episode of Beyond the Closing.